How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, the 1973 original. This is directed by John Newland and stars Kim Darby, you may remember her from True Grit, and Jim Hutton. I'm talking about the original. This is a case of a movie that has a much more famous remake. There's a 2010s version. I think it was produced by Guillermo del Toro, and that one got a lot of attention at the time. The original one, it didn't help that it was out of print for quite a while until it was brought back. We have the Warner Brothers Archive Collection here. I don't know too terribly much about it, but I believe the Archive Collection was a sort of print-on-demand service that Warner Brothers had for a while, where, you know, all their obscure stuff, rather than trying to put out big print runs, they just said, hey, you order a copy online, we'll print it for you as you request it, which sounds like a pretty good idea, you know, any movie you want being able to have a physical media release. That sounds cool, but like I said, I don't know too much about the Archive Collection. If anyone knows, you can feel free to chime in down below. But anyway, that being said, the 1973 made-for-TV version is kind of a cult classic, and without further ado, let's just jump right into talking about the plot. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points, as well as make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about. So anyway, we get this girl named Sally. She inherits her grandmother's house, and it's in a little bit of a state of disrepair, but not too bad. But the first thing they do is they go about remodeling it. They're used to the big, high-class city life, and the house is way bigger than what they're used to, but also kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and it's something they're going to have to adjust to. They go about remodeling the house, and they bring in the grandmother's old handyman. She steps into a lower room, not exactly a basement, but low down and out of the way, and it has its own fireplace. However, quite strangely, it's been bricked over, and the little ash thing on the side, it's some thing on the side where you can get the ash out, it's like a tray, and that's been locked up, bolted shut. Now, she asks the repairman about it and says, the repairman says that it was bolted shut by him as an order from the grandmother, said they wanted everything locked up, and the bricks on the front are 4 deep with iron bars in between them, and says, don't mess with it, leave it how it is, don't mess with it. Well, the bricks on the front are hard to get off, but as soon as the repairman leaves, she goes to that bolt on the ashtray and pries the thing open and looks down into a surprisingly large hole, and of course leaves the door open behind her. And although she goes about her day and doesn't know this, this is letting loose some strange and mysterious creatures that will begin to haunt her. And of course, will anyone believe her, because no one else is really seeing these creatures. They're only targeting her, and they're up to some trouble there. And it's a pretty interesting story, especially when we get into the themes. This actually has a kind of a feminist theme, similar to Rosemary's Baby, about how there are these women in trouble, but at the time society was like, you're just a hysterical woman, don't go on and on about these made-up situations. And it kind of has a similar theme to, you know, when they say they need help, it should be taken seriously. So, a cool message, and it provides layers to this story. Her and her best friend there are both in a similar boat where their husbands work all the time and don't pay any attention to them, and being stuck in a big house all day, you get to feel really lonely and neglected. And the fact that the husband doesn't see what she's going through, doesn't understand her plight, and that she's left there all alone, and when something bad happens, she's dismissed, you really get to see what a terrible situation she's in. And this is an important message about, listening to other people and caring for the people. You say you love them, pay attention to them. And it has a solid backbone, this story. And, as time goes on and as crazy things happen, they throw a party and she acts hysterical. And the husband gets mad at her. But of course, it's because there's little monsters there that, sadly, she's the only one that's cluing into this. Now let's get into the monsters. These are the funner elements. It never exactly explains what they are. A lot of people think the big hole in the bottom of the house is like a big hole to hell, and these are like little demons or something. Personally, when I watched it, I felt that they felt a lot like gremlins or something. Gremlins, small mischievous creatures that mess with things. But it never says for sure, but these guys, if we open up the DVD, you get one of their faces on the front. They have these almost looks like stone or wood carving faces, and they got these big green robes on, and they're only about like 12 inches tall, and they walk around and they mess with stuff, but they don't like the light, hence the title, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which kind of doesn't make sense because the monsters are only in the dark, so shouldn't this be afraid of the dark? I don't know. But overall, these creatures they're just something about a low-budget movie creature that it's got so much charm to it, and I really did like these things. They will be primarily guys in suits. There are a few elements, like a little arm at one point I'm pretty sure was a puppet, and there might be a few puppets. Mainly guys in suits, and they integrate them into the set pretty well. I'm not exactly sure how they did this in 1973, but they look pretty good, especially 1973 on a made-for-TV budget. You're doing a small puppet creature, well, not puppet-sized, but guys in suits. I don't know how they did this, and it doesn't look flawless by any means, but it looks pretty good for 1973 TV, and you get scenes where they pick up a big shaving razor and they're holding it in their hand, but to them it's giant, it looks like a weapon. And to see them pop out of a cupboard or, run away from the light, it's so fun. This really does feel like a precursor to what Full Moon would eventually be doing later on. And if you like Full Moon stuff, it's not as wacky as, Full Moon gets with their crazy puppets, but it is a similar vibe, and I definitely recommend that. And, they are pretty cool, but they're not really scary, and that's kind of the thing. This movie has a cult reputation, and I feel that it's primarily with people who saw this when they were really young. The people that saw this on TV, because this is TV, anyone can tune in. The kids who saw this on TV back in 1973, or the kids, because, this is really not explicit. It is by no means a hard R movie, and you could show this to kids. And I think the people that got the most scared of this were the people that saw it when they were really young, especially the people that actually saw it in 73. But by today's standards, these things really aren't that scary. They're super fun, and I really love them. They're not that scary, though. They're little puppet people, and again, not puppets, guys in suits, but they'll whisper to each other, and the whispering's supposed to be mischievous, but it really just explains too much. Oh, we're gonna get her tonight. Yeah, I have a plan. And maybe you don't want to hear too much of what the monster's thinking, or he doesn't seem as scary. But I like them. They're cool. And the movie's interesting, but by today's standards, really, really not scary. I still like it, but, it's just by today's standards not the horrifying thing, and you get some people, primarily from memories, remembering this being like a really, really scary movie, and it isn't. But kind of weirdly, it's got good themes and messaging, and it's got cool little creatures that don't hold up too well today. Where do you see this? Where's another place you see this? The Twilight Zone. this really does feel like a really long Twilight Zone episode between the morals and the weird little creatures, and hey, it was actually a made-for-TV movie, so it does have a bit of the made-for-TV feel, but not near as bad as a lot of the other made-for-TV stuff. Speaking of Twilight Zone, I believe someone said the director John Newland actually wound up working on a lot of Night Gallery, so yeah, that makes sense. Night Gallery, Rod Serling's other show. And yeah, maybe it feels more like a Night Gallery episode then. Overall, a really fun movie, really cheesy, and as someone who appreciates Full Moon, getting to see a little monster, I really did like it. It doesn't hold up super well in the scares, but in the story and the message, and, you know, even though they're not scary, I really do like the little creatures. It's one of those things where if you go into it with the right mindset, you'll definitely like it. I haven't seen the reboot yet, or the remake. I am kind of curious. They changed the monsters where they look more like little mice things, and it's told from the perspective of a young daughter that time around. So I am curious, how did they change it and how did it pan out? So I'll get to watching that pretty soon. I really want to see what happened. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. And if you want to see more, I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom, and you can find more videos that are related to this. And anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.